Now, George Wingard has done a bit of shuffling from what he was initially entered in, so it's going to be the Mercedes 60 horsepower, which is an even earlier car, can you believe, 1903. It's amazing what conversations go on in the Drivers' Club in order to do a bit of shuffling of cars.
I believe there was a cracked block that led to changing of the vehicle, but had to be driven in a similar way, a very visible way, because of course they're sitting atop rather than within.
The shootout underway, the first car to go, the Mercedes 60 horsepower, George Wingard at the wheel. Now, don't expect this to be the fastest time of the day, far from it, but do not expect it to be slow. Remember, this car dates back to 1903, 60 horsepower, but it was still able to do impressive top speeds and average speeds, and this is how it would have been, apart from the full-face helmets. In other words, a riding mechanic, the driver working hard behind the wheel. Forget seat belts, forget roll cages, forget safety in a sense in that period, forget even a sealed surface, because they were bumpy roads with stones to cause hazards as well. And George Wingard, a master of this type of car.
Absolutely so, and riding passenger, having to be a bit like on a motorcycle sidecar outfit, you have to lean with the car, but actually their principal role is to keep it four square on the track and to hang on. Quite simply, you can see the passenger hanging on behind George, the driver, and with their left hand down to the side of their seat. And of course, parts this track are straight, but not really for very long. Suddenly you get to corners like the Flint Wall, hanging on. George just dives it through the shade, through the darkness. Then, as they approach Carney's seat, back out into the light. The run is nearly over, but at this point, they're really thinking every last tenth of a second has to be gained.
Indeed. Well, this will be the target time. It's a target that's going to be smashed, obviously, given the vintage of the car. But that's been a really committed effort as it comes up towards the timing line. So where are we at? About a minute and a half heading towards the line. Bear in mind that fastest times have been in some cases around just under 40 seconds. So a 1 minute 36.65, 60 miles an hour going over the timing line. And if you think, 60 miles an hour, that's not very fast. The car's from 1903, give it a chance.
Yeah, sitting on top, hanging on, pressing on. Robert Blakemore, we saw his Aston Martin Ulster glorious in that the Aston Martin tribute moment just a short while ago, but now he's driving it on his own. This is no parade, this is driving as hard as he can. And the Ulster was the car that really put Aston Martin on the map in terms of performance. You can drive them on the road, far better to drive them on the circuit and even on hill climbs. And Robert Blakemore pressing on very hard.
7 seconds faster at the intermediate, so it's going to be a much quicker time. It's a much later car by a decade, and he comes up towards the line now then, so 96.65 to beat. And let us see where Robert Blakemore drops in as he comes towards the line. It's going to be about 90 seconds, is it? Breaks the beam now, 89.87, so 6.7 seconds faster. That puts Robert Blakemore quickest thus far. This is Sally Mason-Stirren with a beautiful Ferrari 166 Barchetta.
She hasn't missed a Festival of Speed. She was the first car up the hill in the inaugural Festival of Speed in 1993, plucking cars from the family stable. Such an enthusiast, such a supporter. She doesn't expect to topple the big one. She's completely outpowered in this 166 Barchetta, but she drives absolutely beautifully and is so enthusiastic, really part of the scene here at the Festival of Speed.
And faster than the previous two. It's a much later car, so you can anticipate the times to drop. Sally Mason-Stirren heading up towards the timing line. This should put her fastest, 89.87 to beat. The Ferrari breaks the beam now. There's the checkered flag, and that is 80.95. Sally Mason-Stirren goes fastest.
Alexander Boswell really puffing away, has been all weekend in the Delage. It's been a delight to watch. He really pushes that Delage Becquet very well. Of course, Alexander also out in that 1952 Ascari Ferrari, so he mix and matches, but this is such a dynamic car, the Delage. He's definitely going to take, I would reckon, at least another 6 or 7 seconds out of Sally's time, and more.
If not, yeah, 9 seconds quicker at the intermediate, so the time to beat, 80.95. Lots of smoke belching out of the side of it, but Alexander Boswell is nearly at the end, so he sticks his foot to the floor. It's going to be under 70 seconds as he breaks the beam, 67.91, 13 seconds faster than the Ferrari.
That was so impressive, and you could really see how Alexander was working the car, hanging out of the side. Now, older in terms of age, but Ben Collins is really going to push on in the Blitz and Benz. This is a mighty car. It's sort of, I look at that and I sort of almost dream of chitty chitty bang bang in a way.
We're back at 1909 for this car, and Ben Collins with the 200 horsepower Benz is a real master of this. There's a lot of effort going on, that enormous steering wheel. He accelerates up the hill. Look at the skinny tyres, trying to find some adhesion against the road. Up towards Molecombe Corner now, looking down from the high shot. drops it down a gear, turns in, on with the power, slides it, leans into the corner, back onto the power, and now heads up towards the line. The time to beat, 67.91.
And just look at, you could see every gear change. Of course, Ben has to lean out of the cockpit. He's down to the lever forward. It's a very physical car to drive. But what he's got, which is hard when you go uphill, is momentum. He's carrying it. He's keeping the racing line every time. Little bit of a slide. He corrects it as soon as he can. And then he's going to be hurling it left for the final time. And then we will know what sort of time he's going to set.
And 67.9 to beat. Gets ever so close to the Vales. Breaks the beam to go second. 69.02 in a car from 1909, the 21.5 litre Blitz-Benz. That is fantastic. As you see now, James Wood on the start line in the Alfa Romeo P3. He is about to go. James Wood in the Alfa blasts away. Let's quickly join Tom Clarkson.
Lovely to hear your enthusiasm, and my goodness, it's mental down here at the start. So much excitement, listen to the noise. Everyone is loving it. We've just spoken to Travis Pastrana. He's excited. Go for it. Over to you, Adders. Enjoy.
James Wood at the wheel of the Alfa Romeo P3 heading up the hill. Another fantastic 1930s Grand Prix car, and James knows how to drive this.
James has driven this an awful lot, and he has the precision as well as the press on to really deliver a time from this glorious Grand Prix racer from the 1930s. Thus far, the best sounding car to pass our commentary box. He gets past the Flint wall without a flinch. And I tell you what we saw from Ben Collins was a little twitch through the final corner. He had to come off the power a bit, and that is why he's not top of the charts. But these times, I think, are going to be blown out of the water by James Wood.
Yeah, he's 2 seconds up on the Delage of Alexander Boswell. A little bit of a twitch from the back of the car. It wags the tail, heading to the line to go fastest. 65.27. James Wood goes quickest then, 89 miles an hour through the speed trap. This is Pat Blakeney-Edwards in the Fraser-Nash Shelsley single-seater. Pat Blakeney-Edwards is, as you can see, a very spectacular driver, and there's going to be nothing left on the table here.
I was going to say Captain Unsensible rather than Captain Sensible, but he has car control coming out of every pore in his body. Such an enthusiast, and I don't care what speed the car's going, it is such a spectacle. Drives every sort of Fraser-Nash you can imagine, and anything else. Sometimes he drives a Rover touring car, he doesn't care, but he's absolutely exquisite on hill climbs. What's he up to now when we get to the split, waiting to see where he is? He's down by half a second. Can he claw it back through the twisters at the top?
Well, he's going to try, that's for sure. Look at all the effort being put in. That steering wheel is never idle. It's going left, it's going right. He's working the car is working him. He has got to try to beat a 65.27. It's going to be close, but it's not quite going to happen. It's a 66.55 to go second in the Fraser-Nash single-seater.
What he didn't lack was application. What he did lack was ultimate horsepower at the top of the hill. He really started to run out of steam there, but now a lot more horsepower on display because the Tyrrell, the DFV in the back.
From 1984's Formula One season, the Tyrrell 012 of Ian Simmons, and he accelerates with the Cosworth DFV engine in the back of it through that fast right-hander onto Park Straight now. It's a very successful race car in Ian's hands, and it takes you back, as I say, to 1984 and the Formula One season.
Looking to be neat and tidy, not to overdo it through Moulcombe. Certainly I spoke to Ian at the top of the hill, and he was trying to be contained and not to step out beyond. And as drivers say, you're trying to get the extra tenth of a second shaved off. You blow away far more than that. You can waste a second or even two if you get it wrong. So precision is what Ian Simmons is looking to achieve.
Well, at the moment, he is the fastest, and let's face it, that's no surprise. This car is from 1984. It's got to beat a car from 1935. So the advantage goes Ian Simmons' way. 65 seconds to beat, goes over the line, and he does it, but only by 2 seconds. So it was a gentle run, a safe run up the hill from Ian Simmons, but it's great to see the Tyrrell in action. The touring car that you see now is Matthew Holmes' BMW 320, Spa 24 Hours winning car in the hands of Eric Ellery, Marc Douay and Didier de Radiguez, the former motorbike champion, and Matthew Holm attacks the hill right now.
You always expect the touring car drivers, their cars aren't as leery, but they've still got to bring the performance out of them. Tidy through Moulcombe, that's important, and then you try and carry build as much speed as you can before you get to the fearsome flint wall. Here he goes, dives into the shade. Nice, neat flick, little bit of space on one side, little bit of caution, but then back into the sunlight. And now the final sprint, he's 8.89 of a second up on the best time so far, pretty much where you'd expect him to be.
Yeah, but not a full second, so it's a more recent car, but a less powerful car. It's a touring car, not a Grand Prix car, so up to the line, 63.2 to beat. Is he going to do it? Yes, 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 by just under 2 seconds. Matthew Holm goes fastest then in the BMW. Next away, Richard Westbrook, GT star for many, many years in Porsches, in Corvettes, in the Ford GT, and this is the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT.
He's learnt this car very quickly over the course of today and the last handful of days. Normally this year he's racing the Glickenhaus hypercar in the World Endurance Championship, so talk about changing the season around. Paul Swift is being listed as the driver of this car rather than Richard Westbrook. We'll get clarification on that, but Paul has been sharing the car through the course of the weekend, and we know he's a driver who can drive in a similar fashion to his father Russ Swift, can be spectacular, but right now he's not trying to be spectacular, and as he's trying to keep it four square on the hill.
Doing his best, isn't he? So yeah, stunt driver, rally driver, and right now hill climber Paul Swift accelerates towards the timing line, taking over the seat from Richard Westbrook, and he's dropped some time in the second intermediate then, so he's a little bit down on the BMW. Was quicker, he's now lost time against Matthew Holmes, so 61.23 to beat. Matthew Holmes' time stands up to the flag, 61.91, just under 7/10 split them, so he lost time heading up the hill. Paul Swift goes second.
So isn't this the glory of the competition? We've had a fantastic time set by a car from the first decade of the 20th century. That was by Ben Collins, but then we've had the latest machinery with an electric engine guiding it up the hill, but now somewhere in the middle, the Curtis Craft IndyCar racer with Geraint Iron at the wheel.
We are in 1954. It's a 2-speed gearbox, fast and faster effectively, and this designed to go round and round Indianapolis, not up and up the Goodwood Hill, but right now it's looking good in the sectors. 61.23 to beat the Curtis Craft Offenhauser, twitching up towards the flag. 61 seconds to beat. Yeah, done. 59.10. That goes quickest.
And just looking at the adjustment of the cornering line several times to get through the final corner, Geraint did not want to lift, but now if you want noise, here is the noisiest car on the hill.
Duncan Pittaway blasts away in the Cheetah Chevrolet. It's a very stubby little car, it's a very leery little car, it's a very noisy little car. Can it go faster than Geraint Owen's Curtis Craft Offenhauser? Well, let's see, because now Duncan Pittaway attacks the hill. He makes the climb then in this 6.9 litre V8 engine Cheetah.
And just bear in mind that Duncan's such an entertainer, but probably, I think, today the only driver competing in the hill climb wearing collar and tie. He has standards, you know. He also has plenty of horsepower, lots of grunt from that Chevrolet V8 lump at the front. There's nothing at the rear. There's a bit of colour. There's the back flap of the car and the tail lights, but Duncan Pittaway sitting literally over that rear axle, swinging it. He really attacks through the flint wall. David, is he going to go top? He's almost half a second down. Can he be brave in the ultimate sprint to the finish?
We know that he's brave, but has he got a heavy enough right foot as he accelerates up towards the timing line? Let us see. 59.1 to beat and slightly down, 60.08 seconds, so second fastest for Duncan Pittaway, but a good effort nonetheless. Now this is Ewan Sergeson in the Shadow DN1 Formula 1 machinery.
So again, it just shows the mixture of machinery Formula 1, excuse me, and this is the car made famous by Graham Hill back in the day, tried to take it towards victory for his own team, but right now the focus for Ewan Sergeson, who has a whole host of people in the style of Embassy Racing. I love the support crew here, but how's he doing on the split? Just waiting to see. He's 59.1 seconds to beat. David, is he carrying enough speed into the final corner? I think he's going to come up just short.
It's going to be close, isn't it? 59.1, it's just the wrong side of the minute. 60.93, puts him third then. So it is Geraint Owen ahead of Duncan Pittaway, Ewan Sergeson third, Matthew Holm is fourth. This is one of the best cars here, the unique 250 GT Ferrari, so-called bread van. We're in 1962, it's 3-litre V12, and it's Emanuele Pirro at the wheel.
And from the engine note as it came past us, there wasn't a great distance between the floor and the throttle pedal because it was planted as it went through the left-hander to lead up the hill, and he's keeping it neat, keeping it tidy, but keeping that throttle pressed. 59.1 seconds, he's going to be right in the mix. I think he's just going to steal it.
goes fastest of all by just under half a second, 58.63 seconds. The next car to boom up the hill is Kenny Etchison with the Sauber Mercedes C9, a 1989 sports car from the Group C era, and this should go top.
It's got the grunt, and Kenny's got the desire. 25 years out of a competition car, but it's one he knows so well. He was a winner in the World Endurance Championship, several rounds in that, and he kept the foot planted through the final corner. He's going to be close to 52.2 seconds. That's a 6.3 second advantage. Good to have you back, Kenny.
Drivers there, look, including Paul Swift getting ready. To the line comes Ken Clark with the Rover SD1, the Rover Vitesse from 1983 that starts the saloon shootout here in the Goodwood Festival of Speed, presented by MasterCard Shootout. The car is an original 1983 Rover Vitesse. Steve Soper raced it in what was then called the British Saloon Car Championship. He and René Mech shared it to win the Silverstone Tourist Trophy in the round of the European Touring Car Championship. And Ken Clark is the man who mechanicked on the car in period and is the man behind the wheel of it today. We have a standalone competition for the touring cars, and Ken Clark accelerates up the hill, the first of the touring car subset to go. Let's see what his target time is going to be.
There are going to be people he's competing against in this special subclass. It's class of its own. There are going to be people in faster cars, younger cars, but Ken Clark really putting the power down. And for so many people, that Rover 3.5 litre engine, when revved hard, is such an evocative sound. It'll be bouncing off the flint wall. Right now, he goes past it. Let's see what the split is, but we can almost wipe the slate on the split because this is its own class. 6.4 seconds down on the ultimate pace set by Kenny Atchison and Sauber. That's about 4 square, I would say. So Ken Clark, he'll set the first touring car time.
He will indeed. He's up towards the line. That V8 grunty engine powering him over the line. The time that Ken Clark sets is a 61.80. So remember, that is a 1983 touring car. By the 1990s, we were into 2-litre engines as the upper limit, but much more advanced technically. And this Alfa Romeo 155 from the Italian Championship, the ex-Antonio Tamburini car, driven by Tom Andrew. It's in the livery that Gabriele Tarquini carried to win the British Touring Car Championship in 1994. And it's Forza Alfa Romeo as the 155 climbs the hill.
Surprised it hasn't got the Italian tricolore out of the window for tonight's football match, but right now Tom Andrew hasn't time for such niceties because he's trying to shave chunks of time off. So far, 1 time set by Ken Clark in the touring car class, fast enough to be 7th overall, but already we're seeing greater pace from Tom Andrew, so there should be. He's in a much newer car.
Absolutely, much more technology in this, and by the end of the Super Touring era, even more technology, but he's a little bit down there as well against some of the overall times. Kenny Atchison Sauber is the fastest outright, but he's got to beat 61.8 seconds. He's not going to do it, I don't think. The Rover looks like it's going to carry through the time. Yes, 62.94. Tom Andrew goes second in the touring car shootout in the Alfa Romeo. Ken Clark remains the fastest, and the Alfa Romeo goes to the holding paddock. Grant Williams in the Mark II Jaguar, blast away from the line. Now, don't expect this to be the fastest touring car, but you can expect it to be the most spectacular.
Sideways driving style, puff of tyre smoke, doesn't matter if it's on the Goodwood circuit or on the hill climb. The tail wagging the dog there, but Grant Williams keeps it as straight as he can. Second right-hander to go onto the straight to come, well, there's no straight when it's Grant Williams, to come past the house. There's a little right flick under the left flick under the bridge, and then what you can't always see from outside, there's a little crest here, and then they get to the tightest corner on the circuit.
Look at that, loads of commitment, flicks the car into Moulcombe. Correction needed, a bit of opposite lock coming out of the corner. He's on the loud pedal now, so Grant Williams with Jag 400 makes the run towards the timing line. The best touring car time he's aiming for is from the Rover Vitesse of Ken Clark, 61.8 seconds. He's not going to do that, I don't think, but bear in mind this is a car from 2 decades earlier. The tail wags, almost kisses the bails then as Grant Williams accelerates from Carnet's seat up towards the timing line. It is going to be the slowest of the 3 touring car times thus far, but it's the oldest of the touring cars that we've seen. It is a 68.43. That puts him third within the touring car shootout, as we now see the 1988 Ford Sierra RS 500 blast away from the line. This, the ex-Andy Rouse car that took many a race win in the British Touring Car Championship in 1988. Julian Thomas at the wheel.
Well, Julian watched this car as a young lad and decided it was his favourite in the days of the RS 500s when they were so spectacular in the championship. He then saved up his money, he bought one. This is his first visit to the Goodwood hill climb. He's been loving it. Didn't love it quite so much, David, with the RS 500 when it was wet yesterday. Kept it on the straight and narrow though, because he's been building up. He said, I just want to get faster on each run, learn a little bit more. Let's see if he's managing to put all those little sectors together to create a good time. We'll get that first relevant split anytime soon. Oh yes, he's very much on the pace in the Sierra, and so he should be.
Absolutely right. So Julian Thomas then with the Sierra RS 500 whistles towards the line, all of that power hurtling him up towards the checkered flag to break the beam, and he does a 54.08 second overall, fastest in the saloon shootout, this class within a class. But go forward a decade, the Renault Laguna blasts away from the line. This is Mark Jones at the wheel of the Laguna, a car from 1999, the Alain Menu Jason Plato chassis, and Mark Jones blast through the cars by the end of the Super Touring era. So technically advanced. The Williams Formula One team had a major input in this. Costs were spiralling. This was the peak, really, of the Super Touring era.
It absolutely was. The competition was red hot, and it's red hot here today. Okay, we've got cars of different ages, but Mark Jones doesn't care about that. He just wants to come out top of this class, and at the moment it's looking very good for him. He's really attacked the first part of the course, very neat and tidy through Moulcombe, up to the Flint Wall, very close to the bales on the right hand side, but staying suitably away from the hardest thing up there, which is that Flint Wall. But can he build the momentum for the rest of the course through Carnet's Seat? He's almost at the end of the track. The last burst out into the brightness and then into the dark, David. The target, I think, has got away from him, so he will go second in the touring car class. 56.51, but still really respectable times.
The next car to go is Rick Wood in the ex-Rick Kelly Holden Commodore. He blasts away from the line, this 2008 chassis in the Holden Racing Team colours, but it was a Holden Special Vehicles entry from Rick Kelly, run by the Walkinshaw team. It had a big accident at Bathurst in 2008 with Paul Radicic behind the wheel, but Rick Wood has rebuilt it, and he has put the HRT colour scheme on top of it. He's raced Holdens before. He's very, very quick and very successful in them, and this car that makes a great noise is also a great sight, and crucially it is well driven.
Very well driven, and Rick Wood likes cars with a lot of horsepower, and certainly in comparison to the cars in the British Touring Car Championship, this has loads of grunt, oodles of grunt. That big V8 up at the front. The time very, very good indeed, so Rick Wood ought to, if he can complete the course without making a slip up. So many times we see drivers blowing in this final sweep to the finish line, but he's looking good on... Oh, is he on the clock? No.
A little bit down, goes through on a 53.13, so he's quicker than Julian Thomas. He's fastest of the touring cars, and that is going to put him second overall behind Kenny Etchison's Sauber, 53.13. Nick Swift in the Mini 1275 GT, the recreation of the Richard Longman British Saloon Car Championship winning Mini from 1978 to 1979. This, if it's ever on four wheels again, I'll be surprised, because Nick Swift is one of the fastest Mini drivers. The car hopping and skipping its way out of turn one up the hill. Nick has the heaviest of right feet. This is going to be a joy to watch.
It was a bunny hop as the tail of the car hit the grass bank on the outside. Not the grass bank, the grass verge. He'd already lost a second to the Sauber, the fastest car off the start, finish straight, but he never ever lifts. This is the Italian job. It's red, it's white, it's blue, it's all rolled into one, and up the hill he goes. He is loving this hill climb.
He's never done the Festival of Speed before, and Nick Swift is absolutely flying. This Mini is being given a real workover. He heads up towards the line. The best touring car time is a 53.1. He's not going to be that far away from it either as he comes across the line. The little Mini does a 56.62. Fantastic from Nick Swift.
Does not deserve to be there. There is no horsepower in that car. It's just willpower, and it very nearly carried the day. But certainly in terms of entertainment, that was the car that was driven harder than any other thus far. Fantastic.
Let's go NASCAR. Jack Tetley blasts away from the line. This is the 2012 Chevrolet Camaro. It's 5.9 litres. It's V8. It is noisy, and it's a very spectacularly driven car as well. Jack Tetley had a bit of a moment in the damp this morning, but let's see what this run turns out to be. Jack has got the ability to go fastest here.
He knows his hill where, but when you've got this much power, it's about caution as much as anything, because it's far easy to put too much of the too much down onto the circuit and not get it down straight. Oh, very tight to the straw bales. He enters the flint wall section of corner. He's 0.7 of a second down on the fastest time at that split, and that of course was Kenny Atchison, still fastest in the Sauber C9, kissing the edge of the circuit, and then sadly just a little bit more the final corner. He's hit the straw bales on both sides. It was the smallest of kisses, but round went the tail, David.
Indeed so. Red flag comes out, so the shootout is going to be suspended. Jack Tetley just with a wheel onto the grass, but at that speed shows the commitment the drivers are putting in, but that, I'm afraid, has been quite a moment, doing damage to the car. So the shootout is for the moment stopped, and the marshals will attend to get the car out of the way. Jack Tetley is okay, that's the good news, but he has done a huge amount of damage to that. Oh no. Jack a little bit winded, understandably, because you're going at a very, very high speed, but just one wheel inches offline, centimetres offline really, can do that to you. So following team principal Amy Dick off the course, and Rory Butcher drives the Toyota Corolla to the line. He's into position. We're talking two-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, 2-litre turbocharged power in the Toyota Gazoo Racing UK Toyota Corolla, run by Speedworks Motorsport. Scottish driver Rory Butcher is at the wheel, Gordon Shedden's brother-in-law. He's a touring car race winner himself, and he is go down towards that first right-hander. Let's see how he fares against the top touring car time, 53.13 of Rick Wood.
Interesting little thing, loses ground of course in a touring car on the drag through the first 100 metres, and actually wasn't as fast as the little Mini in Nick Swift's hands, but I'm sure he's going to make it up further up the hill. Let's see the application from the Flying Scot. Lovely line into Moulcombe, such a tricky corner, perhaps a little bit on the wide side. It just kept going deeper and deeper into the turn. He's got to keep his composure. He's only just got it back up to the flint wall. David, you can breathe again.
Yeah, we must discuss Lovely Line later, Bruce, because that I thought was a little bit close to the edge, but he's having a red hot go, isn't he? Rory Butcher then heads up towards the timing line. The best touring car time to beat is a 53.1 from Rick Wood in the Holden, which has got bags more power, but the little Toyota is going to come across the line and just misses out, 53.89. So very, very good effort indeed by the Toyota Corolla. Now this is Jake Hill, who is another British Touring Car Championship star. He was 6th overall in the shootout qualifying session yesterday. It's a 1992 Nissan Skyline. It's got four-wheel drive, it's got bags of grunt, it's got a really fast driver behind the wheel. This promises to be quite a ride.
Well, it wasn't short of grunt, and only 0.08 of a second down on the fastest of the 100 metres charges off the line, so plenty of power. Jake Hill, such a fantastic young racer, using that very well for the drag to the first corner. Neat and tidy through the two first right-handers, up parked straight, absolutely fine. Moulcombe, let's have a look at his line. Oh, very tight to the left, being very, very sensible indeed. Can he carry this momentum, David, up to the flint wall? Then I'll hand over to you. Let's see where he is on the split, coming up shortly.
That wall looks perilously close, doesn't it? But Jake has it all under control. He's very, very fast, very, very committed. The best touring car time to beat is a 53.13 through Carnet's seat, heading up towards the flying finish, close to the bales. Here comes the line, here comes the timing beam, and he goes fastest. 48.96 for Jake Hill. Fantastic effort. Fastest outright in the Nissan. Brilliant effort.
He was sixth overall yesterday, but that's not only one in the touring car class of the shootout. What a run.
Sam Hancock blasts away in the BMW then. So Jake Hill fastest in that saloon set, and Sam Hancock takes us then into the last 10 in the main shootout in this 1979 BMW M1. This is a brilliant car.
It really is. Sounds fantastic, and we heard from Sam earlier talking about the ability with a little bit more height to ride the camber in the hill, and the certain is that umbrellas starting to go up. Was that an old bit of footage? You don't want rain on the hill at this stage. We want constant weather conditions, and he's lost a bit of ground on that amazing run from Jake Hill in the Godzilla Nissan, but right now he's probably good for second overall, just looking to see if any windscreen wipers are coming on. looking out the window, can I see rain? But we did see that umbrella.
Well, 6th goes Sam Hancock, 54.34 then in the BMW M1 Pro car. But from here on in, we're going to just get faster and faster and faster machinery. Jim Farley, Ford's CEO, with the Ford Mustang Mach-E 1400 is next to whistle away from the line. This is electric technology. This might not look like the most obvious of competition machines, but this is incredibly quick. And in fact, a driver swap, Richard Westbrook takes over this car, and that's going to make it go even faster, because as more umbrellas do come up, Richard Westbrook is now hunting for traction. If the weather is against us, this is going to turn the complexion of the shootout upside down.
Absolutely it will, because the drivers who are fastest in qualifying will be the last ones to go, and therefore they might have the wettest surface. But don't forget, here on the hill, we had rain yesterday, literally just at the finish line, nowhere else, and it was a deluge. I don't think we're heading there, but the track has to be giving the level of grip it can, and the drivers have to interpret that when they often can't see it as they flash past the flint wall. But Richard Westbrook, very good run from him thus far.
Yeah, Richard, a very accomplished GT racer for Porsche, for Corvette, for Ford, and he heads towards the finish. It's not going to be the fastest, is it? It's going to be a 54.85 for the Mach-E. Richard Westbrook then being given driving duties to go 7th. So now we look to the Ford Puma Hybrid Rally 1. This is next year's World Rally Car. Rally 1 regulations, and away blasts the Ford Puma. It is Adrian Fourmeau at the wheel. The time to beat Jake Hill's 48.96. Let's see what he can do.
Well, at the moment, Jake Hill sitting on that advantage of 3.3 seconds, but this is a car that should be fantastic on the hill. Matthew Wilson at the wheel. He's taking it over from French racer Adrian Fourmeau. Maybe he's pulled rank because, of course, M Sport, the family company, helping to develop this car, the hybrid power. Windscreen wipers on, even down here. He kicked up the dirt, a very strange line, trying to go too deep into Moulcombe, and then he had to rescue it. So certainly even below our commentary box. Now we're just getting the first splashes, but is it wet at the top as well? But we normally get the rain at the top and nothing down here. Now we've got light rain everywhere.
Last to go, Travis Pastrana's Subaru, four-wheel drive, so it could be very much a Travis Pastrana run, this, as Matthew Wilson heads towards the line. I think he's lifted a little bit, hasn't he, just to be on the safe side with the conditions. So for Jake Hill, he got that time in at just the right moment. 54.55 for Matthew Wilson as he goes across the line. Next to go is this fantastic Ford Fiesta Pikes Peak. It's four-wheel drive, it's 800 brake horsepower. It's Ian Gwynn behind the wheel. Now this could be a dark horse for the top three. Blasts away, a little bit hesitant off the line, but he gets up to speed now. Up through the gears, speed building, power kicks in. Ian Gwynn hits turn 1.
Now, of course, when you're competing the Pikes Peak hill climb, it goes up to 14,155 feet, and the big problem at the top is that altitude really affects the engines. Don't think we have that concern here in the South Downs in southern England, but taking the shortest line possible, the little kick to the right over the crest. How can he get through Moulcombe? Neat, tidy, and then that 800 horsepower being released up the hill.
So he's a little bit down at that first sector point in the intermediate. How does he fare? Let's see, 36 seconds to beat. No, he's lost a bit of ground there as well against the standout Jake Hill time. So Ian Gwynn with all of that power, trying to be careful as to when he applies it. Now, can he claw back some of that lost ground here? No, a 48.9 is going to be very hard to beat right now. He skims the bales coming up to the line, 54 seconds. Yeah, just 54.96, goes 9th fastest. Ian Gwynn in the Ford Fiesta Pikes Peak.
One of the hard things to assess is just how wet the track is becoming. It doesn't look out of the windows of the commentary box those almost any different, but for those at the top, most especially Jake Hill, suddenly the excitement is really building. Maybe the realisation from outside the top 10, 6th overall in qualifying, of course, he can take the big prize. But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Anthony Reid in the Ford Escort Cosworth blasts away. Single-seater racer, sports car racer, touring car racer in a rally car. The ex-Carlos Sainz Escort WRC that Anthony has been given driving duties in for the first time this weekend, and he has taken to it like a duck to water. Expect commitment here.
Well, that might be appetite, a duck to water, but no one tells Anthony it's raining. He comes from Scotland. He knows full well the value of rain, and therefore he would have spent his childhood driving in it before he moved down south. Bested himself near the circuit here in Goodwood in his Formula 4 days and pressing on really hard. He wasn't expecting to drive the car, and he is very, very quick and very committed. Let's see where he is on the split. 2 seconds down, bearing in mind how others who could have been quicker weren't. That means Anthony is not paying attention to the rain at all.
So here he comes up towards the line. 48.9 to beat. Again, close to the Vales on the outside. It's a 51.6. Goes second fastest. It's Jake Hill's Nissan, Anthony Reid's Escort, Kenny Atchison's Sauber, the top three. Jake Hill can't believe this. The Praga goes next. This is the Praga R1, and the time that it has to beat is 48.96 seconds. The Praga blasts away from the line, down towards the first corner. Alice Jirasek at the wheel.
Every single driver that fails to beat him raises the pressure on Jake Hill, sitting at the top, fastest in the Nissan. I'm so impressed with Alex Jirasek and the really immaculate little tiny sports race of the Praga R1. Look how neat and tidy it is, and that is the beauty of this car. But it's a question, can Jirasek, he's only 0.3 of a second down as he sweeps left through Moulcombe. This is the point at which, with flecks of rain on the camera lens, yes, where is the rain at the heaviest? Is it heavy, or is it just enough to make the track a little bit slick? There's not a lot of heat in the tarmac. He's good on the split, not enough to topple Jake Hill, but he could go into second place.
Let's not talk about the rain, it might go away. 48.9 to beat. Alice Jirasek up towards the line. 47.48 is going to be about 50 seconds as a prediction. 51 indeed, 0.38. Goes second, but Jake Hill survives. Another car goes up the hill. There is Jake. Great effort. Well done, Jake, so far. And he is the fastest. Now this could change things. From 1988, the Group C2, Spice, Cosworth, Jeremy Smith at the wheel. He had not driven the car until this weekend. He is always massively committed when he comes to the Goodwood hill climb, normally in champ car machinery. Just watch this.
He always attacks. He's almost always in the top handful of the drivers here. Doesn't always have the ultimate machinery. This one even had a gearbox failure. He had to go up to Birmingham, get a new gearbox, come back down on Friday night, fitted it yesterday, been fast ever since. Fantastic through Moulcombe. What a line.
Faster than Jake Hill to that first intermediate, so this is looking good. All of a sudden, Jake Hill's time is in jeopardy. 48.96 to beat. He's a second quicker at the first intermediate point there as he heads now towards the finish. Absolute commitment into this car. 48.9 to beat. 45, 46, 47.1. Jeremy Smith goes quickest.
Well, fair dues, says Jake Hill at the top, but that took a drive of supreme focus, and his line through the flint wall, I think you might be looking at the timing screen, David, it was exquisite. Right, new target time. Who's the man who's going for it? It's Harry King, the young superstar in the Porsche.
20-year-old Harry King, the reigning Carrera Cup Great Britain champion. You're riding with him in the 992 iteration of the 911 GT3 Cup Porsche. Harry King is one of the most exciting young British drivers in a GT car. And just look at this.
That was to the edge and almost beyond in front of Goodwood House. Only two drivers to go after Harry King. The target time, we've just seen it being set by Jeremy Smith, 47.16 seconds. He's got more power, Jeremy Smith, than Harry King, but Harry King just 0.15 of a second down just before he flashed into Moulcombe.
He goes past the flint wall. He was a little bit close to the grass as he headed up towards Moulcombe. He's 4/10 down. It's going to be hard to pull that back, but Harry King fighting the car up towards the line. He's giving it everything. His foot pressed through the bulkhead then to try and get every last thousandth out of it. He goes across the line, goes second. 47.65. Harry King goes second fastest. That was another run full of commitment. Harry King has become something of a Goodwood hero after his exploits this weekend and at Speed Week.
Now, go on, next one, last one, penultimate one.
This is the McLaren 720S GT3X, Rob Bell at the wheel. This is a GT3 Plus car in a sense, and he's got to try to beat a 47.16. The penultimate car to go.
Rob Bell said he was a novice here. He'd been here long ago, but this is his first time to attack, and what a car to do it in. It's not a GT3 car, it's GT3 plus, but precision is required to align that with power. He's faster by a full second before Moulcombe, so is it going to come down to a straight shootout between him and Travis Pastrana? Has that flurry of rain gone past? But look at the next split, he should be fastest in that as well. 1.25 seconds to the good.
This is going to put Rob Bell at the top of the times unless it all unravels in the last few hundred metres then. The time to beat is a 47.1 and he's blitzed it. 45.01, 2 seconds quicker, 135 miles an hour through the speed trap at the end. Brilliant stuff. One more car to go, Bruce.
That was just remarkable. He joined all the sectors he's learnt through the previous 3 days and absolutely nailed it. Now, if you ever want to see concentration, look at an onboard shot of this man, Travis Pastrana. Let's check when he next blinks. We think it'd be when he crosses the finish line.
Psyching himself up. The last car to go in the shootout here at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. It's go! Travis Pastrana blast away from the line in the Subaru WRX STI. Total commitment, total concentration through the first 100 metres. He's faster than anybody.
Nearly a second to the good before he even turned into the first corner. The acceleration of that Subaru, absolutely mighty. Even a thumbs up, that was to you, David.
Look at this, heads up the hill, Molecombe corner beckons, he brakes, the nose dips, charges through the corner, flat out now, back up through the gears, another gear grab, he's heading towards Flint Wall. The time to beat, remember, is now 45.01 seconds. The back of the car is as loose as it can be. He's lost half a second, he's going to have to work hard to pull this back. He's concentrating like crazy, he's talking to himself almost, trying to find that last fraction of time as he heads towards the line. He goes across the line and he goes second. He misses out by just over a second. Travis Pastrana loses out to the shootout winner, Rob Bell.
Well, what a phenomenal run from all the drivers, but the last two in particular. I think Rob Bell nearly achieved perfection on that climb, 45.01 seconds. Travis Pastrana was certainly not hanging around. First half, he was nearly a second to the good, and yet it went away from him.
That was a very committed drive by Travis Pastrana. It was a very committed drive by Rob Bell. Actually, it was very committed by everybody. That was a brilliant shootout, and it was one of the most competitive that we've had in a long time. Travis Pastrana, take a bow, because that was a brilliant effort, but Rob Bell wins the shootout. Second, Travis Pastrana, and third, Jeremy Smith. Absolutely outstanding action. It's Rob Bell that wins the shootout for McLaren, and he is going to be delighted with that, no doubt. So, as Travis Pastrana parks, let's hear from the shootout winner. It's Rob Bell.
Rob Bell, a massive congratulations. You are the winner with a time of 45.01.
Oh, thank you very much. Absolutely delighted with that. We came here, so it was the first time I've been here doing time runs up the hill, and we didn't know what to expect. You know, we just didn't know how the track changed, and at the end there was a waiting game. We knew that if the rain kept coming, then it hands the advantage over to Travis, but it just held off enough, and the McLaren was so nice to drive up the hill. An absolute pleasure. What a car, what a car.
And over 3 seconds faster than your qualifying time.
Was it? Right, okay. Must have pulled my finger out then. Yeah, just took a man uphill this morning, and I think it was a little bit damp in the quali run, and I took it easy. And we knew we had a fast car in the dry, so we were just heading to hoping it was going to stay dry. And look, I just put it together. Every run you get faster here, and like I said, what a car.
Rob, thank you very much.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
Wow, what a shootout. Let's look at how the order was at the end of all of that, with it chopping and changing. Rob Bell wins the shootout, Travis Pastrana second, and Jeremy Smith third. Harry King fourth, Jake Hill fifth in the end, ahead of Alice Yerosek, and then Anthony Reid, with Kenny Atchison-Sauber eighth fastest. Ninth went to Rick Wood in the Holden Commodore, ahead of Rory Butcher and then Julian Thomas. Sam Hancock 12th, ahead of Matt Wilson taking over the Ford Puma. Richard Westbrook 14th from Ian Gwynn, and Mark Jones Renault in 16th. Nick Swift's Mini, an amazing 17th, ahead of Emanuele Pirro's Ferrari. Geraint Owen 19th from Duncan Pittaway and Ewan Surgison. Matthew Holm 22nd from Ken Clark, and then Paul Swift. Tom Andrew next from Ian Simmons in the F1. Tyrrell, James Wood next from Pat Blakeney Edwards. Alexander Boswell 29th, Grant Williams Jag 30th. Ben Collins 31st, ahead of Sally Mason Stirron. Robert Blakemore 33rd in the Aston Martin Ulster. George Wingard bringing up the order, and of course spare a thought for Jack Tetley, who tried everything but ended up with a very damaged car, and spare a thought too for Travis Pastrana, so near and yet so far.
Travis, you didn't leave anything out there. What a fantastic effort, but it wasn't quite enough.
No, my goal, I mean, he definitely turned it up for sure. My goal coming to this, I was like, if I can get a 46.5 or better, I think that's pretty much where my driving ability is. I think the car probably had a little bit more in it, but I definitely didn't. We were maxed out, and I tell you what, I was just really happy to be here, be a part of it, and I did better than I had hoped on my time, so that's all I asked for.
And despite the rain, everyone seemed to go faster. You found almost 2 seconds from yesterday.
Yeah, well, we knew we had to go all out because we were actually looking at the McLaren's time from practice. I'm like, holy cow, he picked up 3 seconds. I'm like, maybe we can get 3/10, but left it on the line. Did a little donut before I did, got some tire warming, so my first 2 corners were a little quicker, but the crew at Subaru did such a great job, and like, thank Yokohama and everyone, and just everyone that came out. I mean, it's been raining, it's been sunny, it's been scary, but everybody out here came out and came to support. It was really cool.
Travis, we've loved watching you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
And there, the Duke of Richmond will present the champagne to the shootout winner, to Rob Bell, and a brilliant effort, absolutely fantastic. Another new name goes to that illustrious list of winners of the shootout here at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, presented by MasterCard.